The loss of as many as 90 lives at sea in last week's maritime disaster has failed to break the impasse over asylum seeker policy. There were 9 children among the 110 people saved from the capsized boat in waters between Australia and Indonesia. And this latest tragedy has seen the Prime Minister and MPs on both sides of politics urge a bipartisan approach to the issue. But the opposition leadership is not budging. Clarke reports from Canberra.
It's this sight of body bags being brought to shore that's shocked Parliament.
We may never know for certain, but it's likely that approximately 90 people may have lost their lives.
It's not known who they all were or how old, but it's possible some of the dead are children, as there were minors on board.
The latest information that I have is that the survivors included 9 unaccompanied male juveniles.
The maritime disaster has prompted solemn reflection from the nation's leaders.
This is a dreadful human tragedy. I know members across the Parliament would be feeling the weight of that.
I rise to support the remarks of the Prime Minister. At a time like this, all of us consult our consciences on what is the best course of action to take.
But for all the soul-searching, little has been found. The government and opposition remain at the impasse that's persisted since a High Court ruling last year rendered the government's Malaysia people swap deal invalid. Then the Prime Minister offered a compromise, legislation that would allow asylum seekers to be sent to Malaysia, their preferred destination, and to Nauru, the coalition's preference. That offer was rejected, but Gillard is trying again.
I'm trying to say we should get further along. We should be working across the Parliament. We did put a compromise forward out of a set of earlier discussions that is certainly there for the opposition to agree to, and I'm certainly open to further discussions.
She's leaving room for more concessions from the government.
I can't put it to you more directly or simply than that. I'm open to further discussions.
The opposition's not coming to the table, even if the government were to give in to all their demands.
The problem now is just not their policies and what they do, it's them themselves. This government is the pull factor. They are actually the problem. And they have no credibility now out there, I think, to pull virtually any measure off.
Nothing seems to be giving when everyone seems to be privately agreeing that something's got to be done.
There are attempts to mediate from the crossbench, but independent Rob Oakeshott is also struggling to muster enough support for his own agnostic compromise, allowing offshore processing wherever the government of the day chooses.
But unless there is a member of Parliament who is willing in the Liberal National Party or in the Greens or the member for Denison, willing to either abstain or cross the floor, that bill will lose.
Senator Wright.
Even if he were to succeed, it wouldn't get through the Senate because the Greens have vowed to vote against any measure that involves offshore processing, saying it undermines international law.
It is a backward step to abandon the Refugee Convention, as you would do with some of the proposals that are currently on the table.
And the government's decided it's not worth trying to change their minds.
I don't believe that the Greens are going to agree to a package of offshore processing.
Crossbench MPs have been meeting with a handful of backbenchers from the government and the opposition at Parliament today, and they'll meet again on Wednesday. They want Gillard and Tony Abbott to work together, but those talks are just talks, and those involved readily admit they're far from agreeing on any action either. Clarke, Late Line.